thank you, Thomas, for what was a great introduction to what I hope to be able to do today and share with everyone today. Yeah, Thomas is right. I definitely had a great lunch at Saddles with him and Michael Butner. Certainly shared a little bit about his background and how good Belgian food is. And to be honest, food is my number one subject. So it was a great talk. I'm really familiar with this place. I've run probably 5 or 6 fight nights here over the years. But I've got to say, I'm pretty uncomfortable. This is not what I do. I coach boxers. I have small groups, and this is kind of certainly challenging for me. It's been challenging since we had that meeting, Thomas, that lunch, you know. So who's on Gallon tomorrow, by the way? Anyone back in Gallon? I've got to tell you, I love Gallon. The kid he's fighting, Justice Winnie, is a kid I've known my whole boxing career, and is a great talent and will kick on. And I've got to say, I doubt Gallon can beat him. But the way Paul Gallon has attacked and embraced what boxing is has impressed everybody in the boxing game. He went a bit wild yesterday in a press conference. I don't know if anybody watched it. It was crazy. He was talking about ending people's Olympic dreams and stuff. But he's an impressive guy. He's done so well in boxing, and if you watch tomorrow night, it could be anything. I've got a boy myself on the same card, Sam Goodman. He's making weight right now. If anybody wants to know what that means for a fighter, that means losing 6 kilos this morning. 6 kilos. All right. Gallon doesn't have that problem with heavyweight. Not an issue at all. I did have that great lunch with Thomas. I was impressed. I've got to say, I was impressed with what he was talking about, how Wiseberry's got an idea, the Wiseberry Foundation, has a plan, an initiative to definitely make a difference. I've got to say, as much as I've got to thank Thomas, I should be thanking Rod Dillon, principal at Wiseberry Peninsula. It's his idea that thought I might be a good presenter. What he didn't tell me, he shared with me, he goes, "Oh, Joel, I just think your journey, I think the fact that you're a good footballer coming through and your knees went on you would be a good journey. It would be a good topic to talk about." He didn't tell me I'd be sandwiched between Ray Price, one of my absolute football idols, and Wayne Bennett, who's my coaching idol. It's Dillo. I won't be talking about my knees and my football career. It's not going to happen, okay? But he certainly, Dillo spoke about other things. I've been for 20 years, I was the coach, the director of the PCYC Boxing Academy. And it was a job I loved. It certainly impacted a lot of people, like I dare say we're trying to today. And I certainly got recognised a lot for it. In my time, I've coached gold medalists, world championships, gold medalists at Commonwealth Games, multiple national state champions. It's been a job that certainly gave back to me. But when we talk about COVID, my world shifted a whole lot during COVID. So I flew back in from Jordan, from the Olympic trials, the day before the borders were shut. I came back with 2 girls, amazing girls, a Hornsby local, Kay Scott, and Anya Stridsman, who had both been beaten in their attempt to make the Olympic teams. It was a shit day. Came back, it was depressing, it was definitely hard. And then we found out that the COVID stuff had hit us. And my job at PCYC was now pretty much no longer there. I went through that period that everybody went through. What was it? Let's think back. Restrictions came. We weren't allowed to run gyms. I did what everybody else did, went on JobKeeper. It felt like 20 years meant nothing. Okay, it felt like 20 years meant nothing. And it was tough. It was tough. I was used to, like I say, operating in rooms where there's 10, 15, 20, 30 people training, listening to me, maybe listening to me. I don't know. But it all changed. It all shifted on me during COVID. Now, I know there are people that have done much, struggled much more, okay? I definitely know that. But it was a dagger in my heart. It really was, you know? And so, like I say, I know Rod thinks that I've got a lot to share here. I mean, and I will. The fit for Wiseberry, I think, is there. You also mentioned, Dillo, you also mentioned that I should, look, I've got a clear memory of Dillo. First time I ever met Dillo, Rod Dillon, I was 7, just moved up to the coast from living in pretty much Surrey Hills, Redfern, pretty tough area. And I did what a lot of silly kids do. I came to school and told everybody what a great footballer I was. And I was the bee's knees. 2 weeks later, I had to play Rod. He scored 5 tries, 3 over the top of me. And I was that embarrassed kid that had to go to school, tail between my legs and deal with it, you know? But look, if I'm that guy, I'm not that motivator. My team have been laughing all week. So Wiseberry have been pumping out a whole heap of promotional material with me as motivational speaker. I've got a team of boxers laughing their head off the last couple of weeks. They know I'm no motivator. They wanted to know, since when did abuse rank as motivation? I'm a little bit old school in the way I coach. On the way down, I was only listening to a radio report about how, is it the swimming that there's a big inquiry going into the nature of abuse. I've got to say, I'd hate to think what my experience as a coach might look like from the outside looking in. Right? I understand there might be some inappropriate stuff with them, but it's a hostile environment in my gym. It truly is, you know. So like I say, with that journey I had through COVID, I saw it in the people I was training. So one of the big problems I had lost that connection with people. So every day, 3, 4, 5 days a week, I was coaching people. And I lost it, but they also lost it too. So we were denied the right to go to gyms, smaller classes, all that stuff for a long time. So I started training at home in my own garage. PT when it was possible, smaller groups when restrictions started getting removed. And it was probably the thing that kept me sane. I know it actually kept a few others sane too. Okay, so I know it was tough, but I saw people going through divorce through this period of time, saw people trying to plan weddings through that restrictions time. It was tough. I saw people go through, I saw people do their jobs, people that I'd trained that were doing either losing jobs or losing their businesses, you know? Now, if I can speak to anything, then I need to speak about what I know. And that to me is this battle that goes on in every gym. And it's that struggle and sacrifice will create success. It'll also create a thing called character. And we speak about it a lot these days. Customato, one of the great boxing sages, you would say, used to speak about what character was. He didn't create it, he uncovered it. He discovered it. And he would light it up. Okay, so as a coach, that's all you're trying to do is develop character. Now, it's not that easy, right? It's never that easy. One of the mantras of almost every boxing gym is if this was easy, everybody would be doing it. I'll say it. It's like a mantra. I'll say it all the time to remind my guys, it is tough in there. It is tough. But I'll often have to say, just to remind them, I'll even go to the point of saying to them, where Rod and I come from, your minor, our local school, Brisbane Water College, I'll say there's 1,000 kids there. And there's 2 of you boxing. And out of those 2 that are boxing in that 1,000, so 1 in 500, only 1 in 10 will have 5 fights. And then only 1 in 10 of those guys will actually have 30 bouts. It's an indication of just how tough, how hard fighting is. In the end, you don't choose boxing, boxing chooses you. It's just, like I say, in that same 1,000, they've all played footy, they've all played netball, Stepping through those ropes, coming into a boxing gym, always hard, okay? That build of character, that journey of building character, even sheepdogs have it. I used to work at the Easter show every year, grouse money. And I remember watching a guy training to do a sheepdog show. And I pulled him aside. I said, mate, how on earth do you teach those dogs to do that? And he said to me, it's an important question. He said, I think he said, we can get 18,000 for a good dog. And that was 30 years ago. And I went, wow. He goes, we can't put a sheepdog in front of a big ram. We can't put a young dog in front of a ram. They'll get hurt. But what we do need to see is that they will stand in front of that ram and they'll hold their own. As soon as we know that, we pull them aside, we teach them, we work on their drills, their skills, and when they're big enough, we put them back in front of the rams. For me, that explained what character was. You need to identify that they've got character early. I see it and I try to do it with my boxing. I do not waste, I shouldn't say that. I try not to waste time with people I don't see that character in. I try to look for it early, try to see what it might look like, and everyone's different. Everyone's different because I've trained all types. I've trained everyone. I've trained school captains and school dropouts. I've trained kangaroos, wallabies, right? Trained them. Opals, diamonds. I've trained everyone. I've trained people with drug addictions. I've trained people, I dare say I've trained the drug dealers that have done it. There's no one I haven't trained, all right? I've even tried to train my own 3 beautiful girls, which has been my biggest challenge in life, is trying to get them to listen to their dad. It just doesn't happen. Just does not happen. I'll have a room full of 30 people that kind of listen to everything I say, and they'll be in the corner making cubby houses, checking out. It's the most annoying part of my life, is I cannot train my own daughters. Like I say, I've trained people. I've lost people to drugs. I was only at a funeral on Saturday. A tough day. Young guy from our gym. And it was pretty clear. He was a great guy. He was a lunatic, but a great guy. And it was a sad day. He's only 29. And there was a massive crowd, good 200, 300 people there. And what consistently got said was that he wouldn't have known that many people cared about him. But I had to go for a drive with my 3 girls. Big drive, spend the whole day. It kind of knocked me around to think that way. But it did turn it around on itself. I thought to myself, every day I do get the chance to tell people what I think of them. Every day. I mean, it comes in the form of abuse, for sure. It comes in the form of being heavily critical. I definitely let them know that I value them. Every time. Every time. I came away from it thinking to myself, you do have that impact on people. It was a sad day. But if I said, like I say, sacrifice and struggle are definitely the soul of our sport. There can be no true success in boxing if you're not willing to embrace that. I was in Thailand with the Australian team. And it was a development team that would end up producing 2 Olympians. We were there and we got our ass handed to us every day. Boys were in over their heads, way in over their heads. It was part of their journey, but when we had a coach meeting, the Thailand coach said, we're going to go bring a boy in tomorrow from the rice fields. He's going to go much better. Now, we were getting smashed. We didn't need anybody any better. We did not need to get our ass kicked anymore. But they, in Thailand, such a poor country, no one doing well. The coaches that I was coaching with were getting $50 a week, Aussie, and they were 3-4 times the coach that we were. No one was doing it well in Thailand, but they were looking for the person that's doing it even harder. And he was right. This kid from the rice fields came and cleaned everybody up. And I notice, it doesn't matter where you are, if you look for the struggle, you look for the sacrifice, you'll get that success. Rod just mentioned to me that one of my mentors, probably my greatest mentor, Johnny Lewis, had spoken well of me at a recent, when he had a recent meeting with someone. Now, there is no, Johnny trained 6 world champions. It'll never be beaten. 2 of them, in Jeff Fennick, who won a world title won 3 world titles with chalky hands, will never be equalled. Jeff Harding won possibly the greatest fight an Australian has ever won. That was all Johnny's ability to build, what would you call it? It's a furnace, literally a furnace. If you trained at Newtown PCYC, the windows were shut, nailed shut. The heat had to be in the 30s. The work had to be extreme. The training had to be extreme. The toughness was extreme. And from that came such success. Success known all over the country, all over the world. You know, I remember, and the bar is set so high for someone like Johnny. I had a great boy, a guy that we both know, Kristen Dowdle, incredible talent, fought one of Johnny's boys and we got beat. It's not unusual to get beat by a Johnny Lewis fighter. And he said to me after it, he goes, "Oh, your boy was good. He had a great round in him." And we did. We were clearly the better fighter for a round, but we got run over the top. And I tried to tell Johnny, mate, he broke his hand in that first round. I had to pull him up, try and make him fight one-handed. Johnny's simple response was, "That doesn't stop the good ones." A broken hand. We heard it with Ray. The bar can be set so high. It's hard to do that. It's hard to do that. Now, I'm the son of a blacksmith. I'm the grandfather of a blacksmith. And I told you, I'm not going to give you, what do you call them? Affirmations. I'm not going to give you that Facebook stuff where everyone goes, "Oh, that's brilliant." But one of the ones I see all the time is iron sharpens iron. Only if it's strong. Only if the steel is strong. A blacksmith has a process. It's called tempering. You put steel into a fire, you pull it out, you work the steel, you quench it. That's where the word quench comes from. Quench it and we do it again. And that's what we try to do as coaches. We try to expose them to heat, work the steel, rest them, do it again. It's a tough process. Only the toughest come through it. This is again why I say Paul Gallen impresses me so much. It's not different. It's, like I say, it's no different than when we're trying to create a fighter. My favourite coach is a guy called Eddie Futch, which nobody in this room, I dare say, will know who he was. But he was what every coach would want to be. He was quiet, tactical as all hell, and always did what was right. It's a hard thing to do as a boxing coach, to always do what's right. But the story I love with him is he was in the corner of Joe Frazier when Joe Frazier fought the Thriller in Manila against Muhammad Ali. And it seesawed. It's still the greatest fight in history in my mind. Seesawed. And as Joe came back, sat on his stool after the 14th round, Eddie Futch had every reason to believe that he was winning the fight. But Joe had taken so much damage that Eddie said, "Sit down, son. You're done." He kicked up, tried to complain, Joe Frazier, and Eddie Futch just said to him, "No one's going to forget what you did here tonight." Now, what he didn't say, Eddie Futch, is that Joe Frazier was willing to die that night to beat Muhammad Ali. Muhammad Ali had been vicious in the lead up to the fight, calling him an Uncle Tom, calling him a gorilla. Everything he could, telling him he wasn't fit to represent their race. Joe Frazier had made it very clear to Eddie Futch, only one of us comes out of this ring alive. Only one of us. He was willing to sacrifice his life. I have no doubt, Joe Frazier. But Eddie Futch made that decision not to let him fight on, even though he was possibly one round away from a win, because he wouldn't, as good a fighter, as a greater fighter Joe Frazier was, he said, he was a better father. He wasn't going to deny his kids that great father. One was willing to sacrifice his life. The other one wasn't willing to let him sacrifice his right to be a great parent. Just on my Facebook yesterday came up a clip of Felix Savon. This will be a fighter that no one in this room possibly knows. Felix Savon was a 3-time world champion, 6-time world champion, 3-time Olympic gold medalist, sorry. He's a hero in our gym, absolute hero. If we could fight like anybody, it would be Felix Savon. His biggest weapon was a right hand that ended everybody, finished everybody. And I shared the photo not because I wanted people to see how great Felix Savon was, but because in the photo, his hand looks like a bag of marbles, literally like a bag of marbles. And I can't get through my head how someone can fight for 20 years, win 3 gold medals, 6 world championships, and do it with a hand that betrayed him all the time. It's character. It's character that can only be born in a system that's tough. Only be born in a tough system. Now, the best fighter I've probably ever trained is a young kid called Satali Tevi-Famona, world champion. He cut through everybody in the Australian ranks forever. He'd won international medals and everything. Had not had an equal for many years here in Australia. Now, his ability to push as a young kid, push through that barrier, set himself so far above anybody else. In a group of 30 kids, I would often say, in a group of 30 kids that come to box, 5 of them think they're going to be champions. 25 of them are there because mum is worried about them getting picked on. And the other half are there because they're too chubby. Mum wants to drop the weight off them. Dad wants to drop the weight off them, get them mobile. Now, my champions have always come, not from the 5 that thought they were going to be great. Typically, they're good footballers, good athletes. My champions have always come from the guys that have either got weight to lose, need to learn how to stand up for themselves. There's something in the background. This kid was one of those guys. 10 years of age, he needed to drop some weight. 3 years later, he's a world champion. 3 years later, nobody would fight him. The ability to push, he had it instinctively. We would do a thing called a lactic threshold training set. Now, when you do this, if you do it properly, you'll throw up. Not many throw up. Not many. He would throw up every time and keep going. It's typically almost impossible to do, but he would do it. And embarrassingly, I took him to an old mate's new gym, brand new gym, because it was going to be a training camp. And they wanted my academy in there. And 10 minutes later, Mick Estini is looking at me, going like this, and I look over and there is Satali throwing up all over a treadmill, brand new treadmill, all over it, and still going. Mum that side, young girl the other side, he pushed through, always pushed through. Now, if we're going to push through, if we're going to be that person that can turn whatever they've got inside them into something special, you're going to have to find yourself a doctor. My little analogy of this, I spent a great session with a football coach in England at the highest level, Stephen Deacon. And I told him, I was complaining to him about how as a coach, everybody he needs to jab more. He needs to throw more punches. He needs to learn how to defend. It's obvious. That's what we're trying to do. It just drives me nuts. And he said to me, he gave me a great analogy. He said, when I hobble into a doctor's room and I'm in the meeting room and everybody can see I've broken my leg, I'm there because a doctor can fix it. Everybody will have an opinion. Everybody will think what they want, but you need to find the people that are actually going to make a huge difference and solve your problems. Now, as I said, with the journey I took through COVID, by the time I'd hit rock bottom, not rock bottom, but I certainly didn't feel like I had any direction, had any job left. I was lucky enough to have a guy in the gym that said to me, let's open your own gym. Let's get out there, make your own gym. It was batshit crazy, crazy. Who was opening gyms in COVID? Nobody. But I got to a point where I didn't feel like I had a job or a placement with PCYC anymore. And I did feel I needed to keep contributing, to keep supporting people on their little journeys. So we did, we opened a gym. 10 months later, Complete Boxing is up and running, it's flying, we're all doing well. But the person that convinced me, that made sure I did it, was a kid that I'd been training since he was 12. Since he was 12, 15 years ago. He was a crazy sort of kid, ADHD through the gills, relentlessly funny, viciously funny, even as a young guy. Boxing, the closest thing I've seen to a boxing genius. 15 years later, it's him and I that have opened a gym. And when we talk about returns of investment, that's how I feel I've had a return. That time and effort I put into a young bloke back then, we're now business partners. It's because I don't really mark myself. My idea of return on investment is when I'm out and people say hi all the time. When people bring their kids in to train with me, guys I've trained, they bring their kids in and I start to train with them. I find that's a massive journey, you know? So look, like I say, Thomas, I appreciate their chance to speak today and look forward to seeing just how well the whole Wiseberry Foundation kicks on. Thank you.